All right, hello again, and good afternoon. So we're here with another exhibitor company at TechTop Fair India, which is EY, an international professional services network that provides assurance tax and consulting and advisory services. And it is present in over 150 countries and has several offices in India. So we have today here with us two HR department people to talk about how to build a personal brand. And so welcome, Khalid and Shoban. I hope you're doing well today.
Thank you. Thank you, Raza.
Great. Without further ado, I'll give the floor to you. You can start your presentation. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Rita. Good evening, everybody. And on behalf of Khalid and me, I'd like to thank all of you who have taken time out to join this session. As you all know that we are working from home, so please do bear with us if you hear any sounds from our pets or from our kids. And if we have a power outage and if we go offline, please excuse us. That is probably the effects of working from home. So what we're going to talk today is about what is a personal brand, first of all, and why does it matter to us? So you could go to the next slide, please. Or probably you could, yeah. The next slide. All right, so what we will cover today is, okay, before I do that, let me introduce both of us. I'm sorry. Khalid, would you want to go ahead and introduce yourself?
Thank you so much, and super excited and delighted to be here. Welcome all of you. This is going to be a very informative and informal session in terms of talking about the personal brand. My name is Khalid Raza, and I take care of talent acquisition for EY, and along with Shoban. Shoban, over to you.
Thank you, Khalid. I'm excited to be talking to all of you, and I'm super happy to do it with Khalid. My name is Shoban, and I'm part of the EY India talent acquisition team, and very glad to be here. So let's move on to today's topic. Now, what we're going to cover today, or what we are aspiring to cover today, is what is a personal brand, first of all, and why is it important for us to nurture that personal brand, especially for in a for professional purposes. And we'll also see, as an extension of a personal brand, how do we have a great resume? Because that's the first or the doorway to any good career, getting into any organization or for anything. Resume is actually the doorway to get into it. And then how do we manage our personal brand in the online space? And of course, and then we'd be more excited to probably take your queries, questions, and any clarifications that you might have or feedback that you would have. Now, what is a personal brand? Personal brand is, we all have a personal brand, whether we nurture it or we are conscious about it or not conscious about it, we all have a personal brand. So what we're trying to do here is, how do we consciously project our personal brand to the others so that it helps us professionally, both us and the organization for which we work? Right, so that's what we're trying to say. Now, every day, our actions and our behaviors are being observed by people around us, and they form an opinion and a perception about us as people. And this particular perception about us drives a lot of people to make decisions. And that decision could be whether to hire you or not, whether to include you in an important project or not, or to have you to promote you to the next level or not. So these are a lot of important questions and decisions people make on a day-to-day basis their perception about you as a person professionally. And that is what, in a nutshell, a personal brand means, right? It's very important. The bottom line is that if your reputation does not reflect your true brand, then there's always a possibility where you're likely to get shortchanged, miss opportunities, or get wrong ones. And that is why it is very, very important to actually be consciously aware about the personal brand that you project physically and in the online space. So some of the reasons why a personal brand is important, believe me, personal brand is important for personal life as well as professional life. Here we're going to purely talk about exclusively the professional life, right? It's given, why personal brand is so important. First, to have the credibility in the other person, the person who makes decisions. And it helps us to grow our network, to differentiate ourselves, to be ahead of others. That helps us to progress our careers. So these are the reasons why personal brand is very, very important. And we need to be conscious about how we nurture and grow and our personal brand. In the next slide, what we'll be looking at is, how do we develop, right? So this is one of the, it's a very interesting quote by Tom Peters, who says that, nobody else other than us can project ourselves, cannot be a brand ambassador. We are the best brand ambassador for ourselves. That's what he says when he says we are the CEOs of our own company. So take time out to, build your personal brand, right? Next slide, Khalid. In the next slide, what we are actually going to do is we're going to see how do we, okay, we said that we need to consciously develop the personal brand. So how do we do that, right? Now, it's pretty simple steps. They're broken down into 5 steps. The first step is reflect upon yourselves and choose certain qualities that actually leverage your strengths that you want to base your personal brand on, right? It could be that you're a great organizer, so you want to use that organizing skill, or you could be somebody who does a greater number crunching. So that could be what you be a USP that you want to work on, or you could be a great public speaker and you want to use that, right? So first identify 4 or 5 qualities or strengths of yours which you want, which you think can be your personal brand or USPs for your personal brand. Now, after you shortlist 4 or 5 of these qualities, narrow it down to 1 or 2, not more than 2, because in this fast-paced world, if you send out signals that where you're projecting more than 2 qualities, the people will get confused. So they will not know what you stand for. And thereby you might get an opportunity which you don't even like, which is not even your strength. So the second step is after you identify which are those 4 or 5 qualities or strengths of yours that you want to show to the world, project to the world as your personal brand, narrow it down to 1 or 2. And once you narrow it down to 1 or 2, leverage that, project it out to the world. Most of the times, what happens is whatever the first 2 ones that you've shortlisted, the other 4 or 5 you identified in the first step will be an after effect or an organic evolvement of what you did in the first 2. So generally, it gets taken care of. So after you identify what those first 2 great qualities or the personal brand that you want to build, then use that, highlight that strength, and that will be what you will base your resume writing on, which Khalid will take in detail and subsequently. And then that is what you would want to project your online brand as well. The most important part of personal brand is your personal brand should reflect who you are as a person genuinely. You cannot fake or you cannot do something that's not your strength. The physical person that you are, the person you are, is what your personal brand should also be. So it's very important to be authentic to who you stand for and what you are, right? So that's important in terms of how do you arrive at the personal brand. And the last one is once you have done that, live and breathe your personal brand. You can live and breathe your personal brand only if it reflects who you are in person. So I think that is the most important part of the last step, and it's like an ongoing step in terms of the personal brand. Be authentic. Next slide, Khalid. So over to you, Khalid. So
thank you so much. Thank you, Shoban. And I think it was great the way you set up the context. I think it is at the end of the day, what are you known for? So I welcome you again, all of you. What you see on your screen are 3 famous personalities, and I don't think I need to give you the introduction. What I want you to do in the chat, just write 3 words that you think would describe. Well, let's take the first one on the left. I'm not going to give you the name, but if you could write in the chat, what are the 3 words that you think would describe, our Indian cricket team captain? And I'm happy to look at the chat, quickly. What are those 3 words? Leader, that's fantastic. Aggressive, boldness, passionate, very nice, very nice. Resilient. I think these are really the words which would describe Virat Kohli, Greta Thunberg, or if you want to put for Ratan Tata, you could identify these words, and all of us, when we hear these words, we quickly associate with those. Now, what happens if I were to ask you what are the three words that would describe you? And that was pretty much what Shoban was talking about. Have you gone ahead and probably thought about that? How would people recognize me, or how would they brand me as an individual if this question was asked? Now you may not have thought about it, but I would give you as a practice, once you're done with this session, you should go back to your network and you should ask them uh, to give you three adjectives which will describe you, and that will give you a very good indication of what your personal brand is. Because at the end of the day, the brand is all about how it is perceived by other people. Now, how long does it take for someone to form an opinion about you? Sometimes it's just a initial conversation, sometimes it's just first 2 minutes, right? And it all depends on the kind of words we use, the kind of voice we use, how we look, how we dress up, our manners, and even when you shake somebody's hands, right? And when you think back about your interactions with people, these are the views that you take when you meet somebody. Pretty much like, when you meet somebody, you look at their body language, how are they standing, their posture, their hand gestures, whether they are making eye contact with you, how far or close they are when they're talking, what are their facial expressions. All of these things start to form, the impressions. And when you're talking to somebody, you also look at whether the person is interested in talking to you, and at the same time, whether the person is interesting enough for you to continue with this conversation. All of these things combined together part become part of your personal brand, because they are creating an impression about you. While subconsciously we don't pay a lot of attention to these things, but if you consciously start to see that everything that you do, it's creating an impression in front of people. And once you have that orientation, you will be very conscious about how you're projecting yourself. Let me give you an example. We're going to talk about it as we proceed ahead in the conversation. It's going to be about social media. Now, what does your online profile say about you? Does it create a good or a bad perception, or what kind of a perception does it create? A lot of time we wonder that, how do I build my brand, especially in a working environment, and some of you are working, some of you are aspiring to work. What happens when you're part of a team meeting? Do you stay quiet, or do you speak up? And when you speak up, how do you share your views? How do you share your knowledge? Even on social media like LinkedIn, what do you just like the content, or do you also share what are your thoughts? Now, all of these combined together, aggregated, kind of become your personal brand. When it comes to a job, the first or the first step for creating your brand is your CV or your resume. What does it talk about you? And we will talk about it, as Shoban was alluding to. We will give you some steps where you can focus on and make your CV be a compelling proposition of the brand that you have. So let's quickly move ahead and see what we have in store. As we were talking about the resume, these are the 5 tips that I want to share with you. While you must have seen a lot of websites available and a lot of fancy, some creative, some not so creative ways of making CVs and resumes, but these 4 5 things are very important, especially for somebody who's a fresher. But it doesn't hold good for only fresher. It can be applied anywhere. The first thing, what is a brand, right? A brand is nothing but something that a customer wants. So if I am looking for a shoe, suddenly my mind will go to 2 3 brands which are quite prolific. And why is that? Because that's the association, that's what is being sold. So in your CV, you need to have what is being bought in the market, and that's what you need to sell. But if you want to sell what you have, then you're not going to be able to sell anything. Think of a phone, for example. A phone doesn't I have not seen a phone which advertises the ability to make a call. Never. And yet all the phone companies are making tons of money because they're selling something which people are looking for. So focus on that. What is it that the company is looking for? And that's why it is important for you to understand the role, understand the job description, and then maybe go back and tailor your CV accordingly. You need to highlight relevant work experience. Now, I've chosen the word relevant here because a work experience could be that I worked in a society. Let's say for a fresher, I worked in a cultural society. Is that relevant? And how can you make relevant? That's important. Now, if you're applying for a role which requires data analytics, think of the work experience that you had in the campus working for a society, and what work did you do with data? Project that. And while you're projecting it, moving to the third point, numbers will speak louder than words. So if you're able to quantify that experience, nothing speaks better than this. Well, some of us have led those societies and associations. We have managed small amount of budgets as well, but I've hardly seen people talking about that budget. It's important. It shows your capability. It shows that you have some quantification of the work that you have done. Pretty much using the job keywords, as we spoke earlier. A JD would give you an understanding of what are the keywords that are associated with the role, and you could use those keywords to create your CV or probably embed in your CVs. Now, doesn't have to be done artificially, but it could be a replacement of some of the things that you do so that your CV is far more meaningful for somebody who's looking for that particular capability. Last but not the least, while our education is fantastic, and there are like so many MBA colleges and technology colleges, how do you differentiate? How do you show your keenness? And that will come from the extra learning that you go for, which are your certifications. And these days, if you don't have a certification, while I was in college, I can imagine there were hardly any avenues for us to do certification. But now you have plethora of free avenues available where you can go and get those certifications done, and those matter. And when you do the certification, it's not the quantity that somebody is looking for, it's the quality. Do few, but do with intent and learn, because that's important. So if you're focusing on machine learning, do a course, go deep down into it. Maybe you don't have experience, but now you have which you can project when you're talking to the interviewer, when you're applying for a job. Let's talk about your brand online, and we spoke a little bit about, you know today is social media is really large and powerful, and there is tons. And we can learn a lot about everything on social media, which is pretty much about us as well. We are a generation of people that has grown up with technology, right? And I, I use the word we, but I understand a lot about people, young people growing with the technology and social media, which is very crucial in terms of how you present yourself to your colleagues, your peers, your schools and colleges you're applying to, or your future employers. Your online brand is often the first impression someone has about you, and it's very simple. The most of the time when we are hiring, we go back to LinkedIn and see the profile, and sometimes we also assess the kind of information that is available. And if there is a blank profile, then you're leaving a lot to be not assessed. So if you have done fantastic work, ensure that is available. uh, and social media has grown on the other side as well. We're talking about the employers, right? uh, Organizations now employ people to manage their brand centrally through these channels. So it is a great place for you to be there active, and at the same time ensure that you are not just providing your brand but also learning about the brand. And what do you see on the
That's
screen?
great. Khalid, I'm sorry, I'm just here to remind you that we are almost at our time. If you could please wrap it up. Thank you very much.
Oh, I thought we had 40 minutes, but no worries, we can rush quickly.
Yes, thank you.
All right, great. Quickly, since we have the reminder to finished up quickly, I just want to talk about one very important thing, that when you are online, ensure that your footprint is right. You, your words spoken can be forgotten, but what you put online can never be forgotten. It's always going to be there. So always have that conscious effort when you're putting anything online, because you don't want to put something which you're going to be regretting later on. So think and then post it online. We're going to talk a bit LinkedIn, because out of all the social networks that we saw, LinkedIn is the one which is for the professional network. There are some great numbers here, but what we're going to focus on is how you can use LinkedIn. We all know that thing that is available on LinkedIn, but you can organizations or the companies that you aspire. You can follow them and you can get their feed. You can sign up for job recommendations, which will help you automatically if there is a job which is available. You can network with potential employers and people who are working in those firms to learn, and you can share content and position yourself as an expert in your field. And I remember a story recently. I saw, somebody was looking for an internship in an organization. I would name. The person created a very very unique video and put it on LinkedIn, and guess what? The firm saw that video and the internship was granted to the individual. Now that's how powerful social media is. Um, just to quickly wrap it up, your professional image matters, but as Shoban earlier highlighted, behavior matters most. So you may have a fantastic profile, but if you keep picking up fights or keep posting videos or posts which are not something which is helping your brand, you're gonna have major impact. Align your verbal and non-verbal behaviors, because at the end of the day, brand is the whole package, not just one thing. So your advertising could be amazing, but your product is not good, brand will suffer. And last but not the least, take ownership of your personal brand and get every aspect of your life on brand, because it is the complete set. Thank you so much, Rita. Over to you.
Thank you. That was a very nice wrap up. So now we have some time for the Q&A. We can do it briefly as well. There is someone asking about pro and con opinions on some abilities like being diplomatic or consensus or multitasking, if you can suggest. So we've been also talking about more specific skills that one might want to advertise for. As for this maybe soft skills, what would you say?
Let me take that up. There is no right or wrong in brand building. It's who you are. You need at the end of the day. So if you're not proud of something that you don't want to project, I think the focus should be. So if you feel that you are an introvert and you don't want to project it, I think focus should not be on projecting. Focus should be on how do you get out of that mindset. So I would want you to project authentic, and authenticity will also help you be consistent, because brand
Yes.
is consistent. So if you're faking something, it may work for a day, but your real true characteristics will emerge later on, and which will damage your brand much more.
Yes. So sticking up with the authenticity actually in the end is the key, right? Yeah. So you've said very at the very beginning something I really found interesting, and sometimes people are not aware that each of us already has a brand, right? So this is a very interesting point, an important point that we need to then build it more or less. So as like a wrap up again, as for the questions, let me see if there's someone over here. Okay, there's another one coming up, and so let's do this as the last one. So what would you advise a person to respond when an employer answers you are overqualified in the last round of an interview? Who wants to go for that, Khalid or Shoban?
I was just pausing that Shoban will take that up, but then Shoban, do you want to pick it up?
See, sometimes probably we are overqualified. Sometimes what happens is in the quest to look for a new job, we should always be open to experiences. It is not that you have to land the next immediate job that you get, right? Sometimes it needs to be the one that would make you happy, because at least lives in India, we spend considerable amount of time in office or doing work. So if we don't enjoy what we do, it's going to be really tough. So probably we are overqualified. So when somebody says they're overqualified, it could be we got to take that in face value. Otherwise, what would happen is if you keep retrospecting, saying that they have something else in their mind, it's not going to damage the employer. It's going to damage us, because our morale gets into. Probably they didn't deserve you, right? If you go and do, probably really overqualified, and you're not going to enjoy doing something which you're not meant to do. So that's why it's very important when you select it, or you decide to apply for a role, you need to see not just the brand that you go to. Sometimes, yes, brand gives you that kind of work that you want to do. For instance, the consulting work that EY can provide, which a service organization cannot provide, is definitely, yes, a brand. But the kind of work that you have to do, it should interest you and you should enjoy doing that. That's when you will excel and you will also, it'll not be a chore. That's very, very important. So, yes, sometimes when they say you're overqualified, probably you are, and you're not going to enjoy what you're doing. That's what I
Yeah.
think.
Yeah, the motivation maybe will not be at the highest, right? So just to wrap up, really, this time is for real, a very short question. How would you advise someone to prepare for re-entering into the IT field after a career break? So coming back into a technology jobs after a break of some time.
Okay. See, the most important thing is technology, more so than the other fields, is evolving at a very neck-breaking speed. Right?
Yeah.
What was new yesterday is no more new today. Right? I think the most important thing when when we're trying to re-enter, we need to be aware that we are not ahead of the curve. We got to accept the fact that we are a little behind. And once you accept that fact and get that in the mind, then all the steps that one would take will be to bridge it. So that is the first point, is the acceptance that yes, you got to catch up. The other thing is, the great thing about technology again is that so much of what is currently happening is there in the open internet space. So do a lot of research, do a lot of homework. A meticulous homework is what we need to do, so that you understand, for example, if you're somebody who wants to work in the open source environment, or if you're somebody who wants to work in the cyberspace, then apart from the general idea on what is happening in technology, do a meticulous preparation on the specific field that you want to accept. Because most of the times when you get that, when you have that point and you understand and you keep yourself abreast with the latest technologies, because employers understand that you will not have a working experience, but when you show that aptitude, they more than kind of take. But what you will need to accept, and that's the reality, is you're not ahead of the curve. We've got to accept it and tone down the expectations that you might have. That's very important. Be realistic in expecting, because you have a thing to catch up. Research, a lot of reading, and meticulous reading, not just, I think that's how it is. And
That's very good. That's very good. Actually, I got the information from our team that we have some extra time. There's other questions here. Let me go through them quickly. So how to identify multitasking work profile and many tasks incorporated for one designation? This is one question. How would you tackle that?
I did not understand the question actually.
Well, it's how to identify multitasking work profile and many tasks incorporated for one designation. So maybe it's about how actually you can be more specific about what you mean with multitasking.
It's actually scientifically proven that humans can't multitask. While we think we can, we can't. But I think what I'm trying to understand, maybe somebody can redefine the question again, is that how can you have multi-skilled approach for one role? But if that's the question, I think it all depends on the kind of profile, because we all kind of at the end of the day just don't do one thing, and it is good for anyone to aspire for a role which will have multiple skills combining into one, if that is what person is looking for, because all of us have our journey. Some of us have an inverse T, where you broaden your skill base and then you specialize in one, or you specialize in one and then broaden it later on. So I think it all depends on how one wants to take that journey. But what's more important is to have that plan where you want to go, because job is a way to achieve what you want to achieve eventually. It is not the end goal. And I think what Shoban earlier mentioned makes a perfect sense, that if you're only overqualified for any role, it's about matching your skills with what the skills are required to do the job. So if I put a fighter pilot to be a driver for my Maruti 800, the person will be unhappy and will resign pretty soon.
Yes, that's very true. Let's go over here to Scoop for more questions. Actually, there's more coming up. So let's take the next one. There was someone actually asking more specifically about AI, and what opportunities for CMA, practical training roles there that you've got. Can you maybe share some information on this, please?
Could you repeat the question? I didn't understand. Are they talking about the data?
The question is there any opportunity for CMA practical training roles in your company?
CMA? What is that? If you could explain that a little, please.
Well, maybe we have to ask our participant to explain that further.
Yes,
but maybe you could elaborate on what kind of roles are you looking for, if there's maybe a high demand on specific ones. Maybe if you can shed some light on that, if there's really a list of high, needed ones that you're looking for at the moment.
Okay, since this is a tech job fair, probably, we will focus on the technology aspect. Not
Yes.
many of our candidates or many of people in the market know that EY does a lot of cutting edge technology work. How do we differentiate, or what is our USP is we are actually pure play consulting organization. So that means our employees right from the entry point till our partners, while the degree of exposure might vary depending on the level of work that we do and responsibilities we take. But all our employees in the technology space, and I'm sure in the other space as well, is that they have direct connect with the clients. They're actually involved in doing that kind of cutting edge technology work. So we hire across all the broad spectrums of technology. You name it, we actually do it. For example, we do work in the digital space. We have a lot of data analytics, which is your machine learning, market intelligence. Then we have data engineers, we take data scientists, and then we, again, if we go through the technology aspects, we hire from front end to back end to, cyber security, tech risk. So we hire across all spectrums and across all business units, be it financial sector, be it your government PSU center sector. Somebody was asking that question on PSU. I did see that. And or across communication or across oil and gas, natural energy, across all sectors we do have clients and we do cutting edge work, and there is a direct exposure that we provide because every employee interacts with the client. And the other beauty that I think which a service organization wouldn't offer that we offer is that you're all like entrepreneurs because we all make a change or make to the revenue of the organization. So in our own capacity, each of us make, and it's tangible to see that as a resource, when I work for this client, this is the revenue I get. So we do that. So across spectrums that we hire, across business units, across different industries we work. So yes, not many of them know. In India, when we probably think of, I don't think EY will be the first name that you will think on technology giants or a technology organization, but then you'll be very pleasantly surprised that we have a very strong unit of almost 3,000 to 5,000 strong technology. And they're growing still, and that's one of those fastest sectors growing.
Yes, for sure. Technology plays a very good part.
Just to add, even traditional service lines like tax are also hiring technology. So,
yes.
The entry of technology is everywhere.
Indeed. There's another question here. It relates to what you have said before about skills and certification, actually. Let me scroll down here a little bit. So there's someone saying, I would like to become a project manager and I don't have a prior experience of the same. So how could I go about, getting this? You mentioned certifications, for example. How would you advise on this?
So everybody knows about PMP and Prince, so I'm not going to talk about that. But I think these are professional certifications. What I was talking more of online learning, which we were talking about. Because if you want to go that path, you might as well go that path and invest time, energy, and effort into it. This is more about when you're studying and you have some aspiration to move into a certain direction, but your curriculum doesn't allow that flexibility. That's where you supplement your curriculum with something which is available online. Places like Coursera, Udemy. You could go there and get those learning and certification. The idea here is to learn. The idea is not here to accumulate another set of degree, but be relevant and gain those skills so that when you're talking, you're able to match the language and show that you have one, the aptitude, two, the interest, and third, a bit of relevant knowledge for you to be interested for that role.
Very good. Let's scroll down some more. Actually, there is people asking for more HR related questions. So if you have opportunities for pharma freshers or what are the mostly required skills for electronics and communication to join? So how would you advise people to talk to you about this at your booth, right? Candidates can go and sit at a table.
Yes.
And another question that just came up. So everybody that is actually interested in a job role at EY, don't forget that they're an exhibitor. So the best way to get in touch is taking a seat at their table. There's another question here. Why? Let's go down a little bit. I'm sorry, I have to scroll down because they're coming up, and the scroll down is needed to get them. Best way to get, how can I get to EY? You can go and talk to them at the booth, please. Are there any other questions that we want to cover? Because we've been adding a lot of questions in here. So do you hire freshers and recent graduates and more senior positions? Maybe to wrap this topic up a little bit, because people are asking.
Yeah, we do hire freshers, but I don't know if the context of the question is senior position, because I don't know how do you define senior position, but we do hire freshers a lot. We hire freshers who are from technology, from grad colleges, CA. So there is a huge demand for freshers as well at all levels.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. So it's a broad. Can you please speak about military veteran hiring? There's someone asking about military veteran hiring. I'm not sure. Yes, Vinit, you want to shed some light on that?
We do hire, while we do not have anything specific, but yes, we do have quite a seizable of our ex-servicemen, ex-defensemen, and women working with us. So if you're interested, like how Rita said, do visit our booth or even go to our website. Anything that interests you, you think that you would be a fit, please do apply there. We will definitely look at it. So yes, we definitely we do have a lot of men and women in uniform with us, and we are very proud of that. So yes, please do feel free to apply and go to visit our booth as well as go to our website. It does have a lot of opportunities that you could apply for.
Mm-hmm. Very good. He says, thank you. All right. So we covered that one. A very last one, maybe another piece of advice for someone who is saying, I am working as energy consultant auditor in thermal sector, and I would like to switch to IT. So how would you advise a person, maybe not so specifically, but to change their area? Khalid or Shoban, who wants to?
I think EY is the right place to look at it. And I'm sure Khalid will have a lot to say about it. For example, Khalid spoke about tax consultant. We are doing technology work for tax consultant. So functional experience in tax or functional experience in internal auditing that you have, EY is the right place. Khalid?
Totally. I think we are looking for people who could bring in as many skills as possible. So if you are looking for a career switch from a functional domain to technology, I think the best way would be to figure out which technology you want to be interested into. One second is talk to people in that technology, because I mean, I keep saying this to young people and everybody, grass is always greener on the other side. So get there, wear those shoes, walk a mile, and then see how many burns do you have, and then make a decision. Because it might look like the technology is the place, and I'm not saying it isn't, but it is something that you need to take a call for yourself. Identify a mentor, create a learning plan, create a career plan, and then apply for the roles. And if you have the skills, organizations and firms will be running after you, and you would have a successful career and a happy life as well, because you will do what you like to do.
Thank you. Thank you. I mean, you are the best people to talk and to give advice on these particular matters. And we've had so many questions, so many people interested. People are typing, thank you. Thank you, everybody. We will finish our session right now. It has been of great value. We thank everybody who has been participating, and to Khalid and Shoban, thank you once more. And stay tuned for the rest of the event. Thank you very much, and go over to the booth to talk to Khalid and Shoban, and happy chatting. Thank you, and bye, everybody.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Vera. Thank you very
Bye-bye.
much. It was a great pleasure. Take care.